The massive bronze-armored fist slammed into the wall beside Raven's head, cracking the reinforced steel. Vex Thor the Crithian, his 9-foot frame looming over her with all 4 muscular arms flexing, mandibles clicking in what passed for a Crithian laugh. His 2 glowing crimson eyes burned with arrogance. Pathetic human, he hissed through his vertical mouth slit. His thick, segmented tail whipped behind him, knocking over a floating holographic display. You dare file charges against me? Against a Crithian warrior? Raven didn't flinch. She stood at 5'6", arms crossed, watching the chitinous giant throw his tantrum in the middle of the station's main hub. Around them, dozens of species scattered. Drax, the massive green-scaled Varanthi warrior, stumbled backward with his 2 amber eyes wide, his 7-foot reptilian frame pressing against a wall despite his size. The ridge of spikes along his spine rattled with nervous energy. Ambassador Joran, the serpentine purple-blue, scaled Velthari, slithered backward rapidly, her 4 delicate arms raised defensively, her 2 golden serpentine eyes dilated in alarm, bioluminescent spots along her spine flashing orange. Yeah, Raven said flatly. I dare. You assaulted 3 merchants in Sector 7.
Broke their cargo containers. Threatened to eat them.
Vex Thor's mandibles spread wide, revealing rows of serrated teeth. He straightened to his full height, his chitinous bronze armor plates shifting with a metallic scraping sound, his 2 crimson eyes blazing brighter. They were in my way. Inferior species move for Crithians, or suffer consequences. Cool story. Raven pulled out her datapad, tapping the screen. Here's the security footage of you picking up that Glevian merchant and shaking him until his tentacles fell off. They grew back! Vex Thor's tail slammed into the floor, creating a small crater. Glevians regenerate. That's not the point. One of Vex Thor's 4 arms shot out, snatching the datapad from her hand and crushing it in his fist. Sparks flew, plastic fragments scattering across the floor. He tossed the mangled remains aside, all 4 arms spreading wide in challenge, his 2 crimson eyes narrowing with contempt. Human security officer, he said, leaning down until his eyes were level with hers, mandibles clicking rhythmically.
You want to arrest me? Try! I've broken 17 humans on 14 stations!
Your bones snap like twigs. Your flesh tears like paper. You are soft, weak, fragile meat. Raven's expression didn't change. She looked at the crushed datapad, then back at Vex Thor.
That's station property. You're adding destruction of equipment to the charges.
Vex Thor's laugh was a horrible chittering sound, his whole bronze-armored frame shaking, his 2 crimson eyes gleaming with malicious amusement. Around the hub, various aliens watched from safe distances. Drax had his massive reptilian back pressed fully against the wall now, his dark green, scales pale with fear, his 2 amber eyes tracking Vex Thor's every movement. The spikes along his spine were completely flattened. Ambassador Joran's hood frills had gone completely flat against her elongated head, her purple-blue scales pale, her 2 golden eyes wide and unblinking. Captain Reed's voice crackled over the station intercom. Officer Raven, stand down. We'll handle this through diplomatic channels. Raven tapped her comm badge. Negative, Captain. He just destroyed evidence and is currently obstructing an active investigation. I obstructed your pathetic device, Vex Thor said, bringing all 4 fists together and cracking his knuckles in a cascading series of pops. His 2 crimson eyes locked on Raven. What will you do about it, little meat thing? File a report? Cry to your superiors? He gestured with 2 arms at the gathered aliens. Everyone here knows the truth. Humans are bottom tier, weakest species in the station roster. You only survive because stronger species permit it. That's so? Raven asked. It is fact. Vexthor straightened again, chitinous armor gleaming under the lights, his two crimson eyes burning with certainty. Your species has no natural weapons, no claws, no venom, no armored skin. You die if you don't eat for mere days. You require constant water. You expire if temperature changes too much. You are evolution's joke. He took a heavy step closer, his tail sweeping in a wide arc. The aliens scattered further back. Drax actually pressed himself into a corner despite his massive size, his two amber eyes darting for escape routes, his thick arms trembling. Jorin's bioluminescent spots were strobing now, her two golden serpentine eyes reflecting pure terror, her forearms covering her face. I could tear you apart, Vexthor continued, mandibles spreading wider, his two crimson eyes glowing brighter. Right here, right now. And your pathetic human laws would do nothing because my species has diplomatic immunity. Crethians are warrior caste. We do not answer to prey species. You done? Raven asked. Vexthor's two crimson eyes somehow narrowed further. You should be begging for your life. Just waiting to see if you had any actual point buried in all that posturing. The Crithian's mandibles snapped shut with a sharp crack. His forearms flexed, bronze chitinous plates sliding over massive muscles. His tail raised behind him, the pointed tip aimed at Raven like a spear. His two crimson eyes burned with rage. You want to challenge me? He asked, voice dropping to a dangerous rumble. You want to test Crithian superiority against human weakness? I want to arrest you for assault and property damage. Try. Vexithor spread all four arms wide, exposing his chitinous chest, his two crimson eyes blazing with arrogant confidence. Strike me. Use your full strength. Hit me with everything your pathetic species has. He laughed again, the sound echoing through the hub. I won't even defend myself. Prove your species isn't worthless. Prove humans belong in the same station as real warriors. Hit me, human. Raven stared at him for 3 full seconds. You sure? She asked. I'm certain, Vexthor said, mandibles clicking in amusement, his two crimson eyes mocking her. Strike me. Break your fragile hand on my armor. Let everyone here witness. Raven punched him in the throat. Not the chest, not the jaw. The soft exposed throat between his mandibles and his chitinous chest plates, right where his tracheal ridges created a slight gap in his natural armor. Her fist drove in with her full body weight behind it, her rear leg pushing off the floor, her hips rotating, her shoulder extending, every ounce of force from her former MMA career concentrated into a 3-inch diameter impact point. The sound was like a wet crack and a gurgle combined. Vexthor's two crimson eyes went completely wide, pupils dilating in shock. All 4 arms flew to his throat. His mandibles opened and closed soundlessly. His tail went rigid behind him, pointing straight up. Then he made a sound like a broken air compressor, a wheezing, gasping, horrible choking noise. He took 1 step backward. His 4 arms were still clutching his throat, chitinous fingers clawing at the impact site. His two crimson eyes started shifting color, turning from bright red to a deep purple black. His tail whipped wildly, smashing into a holographic display and sending it spinning into the wall. Another step back. His legs were shaking now, bronze armor plates rattling. The wheezing got louder, more desperate. His 2 eyes were bulging, veins visible around the edges. You, he managed to gasp out. You! Raven shook out her hand, flexing her fingers. Crithians have a secondary breathing passage in your throat. Hits there cause your primary air channel to spasm shut for approximately 90 seconds. Learned that in xeno-combat training last year. Vexthor's mandibles were turning blue now. His 4 arms were flailing, one clutching his throat, while the other 3 swung wildly, trying to grab something, anything. His tail swept in panicked circles, carving gouges in the floor. His two crimson eyes had gone dark purple, rolling in their sockets. He took another step back, crashed into a bench, and went down hard. His massive, bronze-armored body hit the floor with a sound like someone dropping a filing cabinet full of silverware. His four arms sprawled out at odd angles. His tail twitched violently. His two eyes rolled back, showing only the whites. And he lay there, not moving. Still wheezing, but not moving. The entire hub was silent except for Vex Thor's labored breathing. Drax slowly peeled himself off the wall, his massive green-scaled frame trembling, his two amber eyes somehow wider than before. His thick arms hung limply at his sides. The ridge of spikes along his spine slowly raised back up, quivering. His reptilian mouth opened, but no sound came out. Ambassador, Joran's purple-blue scaled body had gone completely rigid, her four delicate arms frozen in mid-gesture. Her hood frills slowly expanded to their full width, bioluminescent spots along her spine, pulsing bright gold in shock. Her two golden serpentine eyes were fixed on Vex Thor's prone form, unblinking. Raven walked over to Vex Thor's sprawled body. His two purple-black eyes tracked her movement weakly, still bulging, mandibles opening and closing in gasping motions. She pulled out her spare datapad and snapped a photo. "That's for the report," she said, "also charging you with threatening a station officer and attempting to resist arrest." She tapped her comm badge. "Captain Reed, suspect is subdued. Request backup and a medical team to detention level." Reed's voice came through after a pause. "Did you say subdued?" "Affirmative. He's conscious but not mobile. Should recover in about 70 seconds. Another pause. "Officer Raven, what did you do?" "He invited me to strike him. I obliged." Vexathor's wheezing intensified. One of his four arms weakly slapped the floor, his two eyes still that dark purple-black color. Across the hub, Drax finally found his voice, a deep, rumbling growl. "She dropped him! The human dropped a Crithian, a warrior-caste Crithian." His two amber eyes were glowing with shock, his dark green scales rippling. "I saw it with my own eyes. One punch. He's still down. He hasn't moved." Ambassador Joran's bioluminescent spots were strobing rapid fire now, bright gold pulses running up and down her spine. Her four arms had moved to her chest in a protective gesture, purple-blue scales shimmering. Her two golden serpentine eyes were wider than Raven had ever seen them. "This is unprecedented. Crithians don't fall. They don't stay down. There." She gestured helplessly at Vex Thor's still prone form with two of her four arms. "Overconfident," Raven finished. Two human security officers burst into the hub, weapons drawn. They stopped dead. When they saw Vex Thor sprawled on the floor like a discarded toy, his four arms still twitching, his two eyes still that disturbing purple-black. "Holy!" one of them said. "Get the medical team," Raven said, "and restraints rated for Crithian strength. He's going to be really angry when his breathing normalizes." As if on cue, Vex Thor's wheezing began to ease. His two eyes started returning to their normal crimson color, the purple-black fading. His mandibles clicked once, twice, with more strength. His tail lifted slightly off the floor, then slapped down again, and then he sucked in a massive, shuddering breath. "You!" he gasped out, his four arms pushing against the floor, trying to lever his massive frame up. His two crimson eyes focused on Raven with absolute fury. "You dare!" Raven put her boot on his chitinous chest. Not hard, just enough pressure to keep him down. "Stay," she said. Vex Thor's two crimson eyes somehow conveyed absolute murderous rage, while also showing a flicker of something that looked suspiciously like fear. His four arms pushed harder, muscles bulging under bronze armor, but Raven's boot didn't budge. You struck a warrior caste Crithian, he wheezed, his two eyes burning with barely contained rage. You ambushed me. Dishonorable. Cowardly. You literally invited me to hit you, Raven said. Exact words, strike me. I have witnesses. Drax was nodding, his massive reptilian head bobbing up and down. He said it! He said strike him! I heard it with both my ears. His two amber eyes were still wide with shock, his dark green scales still pale. All 7 feet of me heard it from across the room. Ambassador Jorin's hood frills had gone flat again, her serpentine body coiling tightly. Her 2 golden serpentine eyes blinked slowly. The Crithian challenged the human to demonstrate force. The human complied with the terms he specified. Her 4 delicate arms gestured at Vexthor. This outcome is technically legitimate. I didn't. Vexthor tried to rise again, all 4 arms pushing, his 2 crimson eyes blazing. I expected a human's full strength to be meaningless, to bounce off my armor, to prove your weakness. Proved something, Raven said. Just not what you expected. The medical team arrived. 3 humans pushing a floating gurney, followed by Thane, a male Crithian guard with darker bronze chitinous armor, standing 8 feet tall with 4 muscular arms and 2 deep red eyes. Those eyes swept over the scene, mandibles clicking in what might have been confusion. He saw Vexthor on the floor, saw Raven standing over him, saw the gathered crowd of shocked aliens, and his mandibles went completely still. His 2 red eyes widened. "Explain," he said, his voice somehow conveying both command and disbelief. "He invited me to hit him," Raven said, stepping back. "I hit him. He fell down. He hasn't gotten up." Thane's 2 red eyes shifted to Vexthor, who was now trying to prop himself up on 2 of his 4 arms, the other 2 still rubbing his throat. His 2 crimson eyes met Thane's red gaze. "You challenged a human to strike you?" Thane asked in their clicking language. "I expected," Vexthor started. "You expected human weakness," Thane interrupted, moving closer with a medical scanner. His 2 red eyes narrowed. "You assumed fragility. You displayed arrogance." He ran the scanner over Vexthor's throat, mandibles clicking in diagnostic rhythm. "Your tracheal passage is bruised. Your secondary air channel is still partially spasmed. Your pride is shattered." He looked at Raven, his 2 red eyes showing what might have been approval. "Where did you learn Crithian anatomy?" "Station training," Raven said. "Required course for security personnel. Covers vulnerable points on 47 species." Thane's mandibles spread slightly. "Efficient." He helped Vexthor sit up, 2 of his 4 arms supporting the other Crithian's chitinous back. "You can stand?" Yes," Vexthor said, his voice still rough, his 2 crimson eyes dim with humiliation. He got his 4 arms under him, pushed, and rose shakily to his feet. His tail dragged on the floor, lacking its earlier confidence. He swayed once, then steadied, his 2 eyes not meeting anyone's gaze. Raven held up her spare datapad. "Vexthor of Krithia, you're under arrest for assault against 3 merchants, destruction of station property, threatening a station officer, and resisting arrest. You have the right to Crithian legal representation. You have the right to contact your embassy. Anything you say will be recorded and submitted to the Station Judiciary Council." Vexithor's mandibles opened, closed, opened again. His 2 crimson eyes were back to their normal red, but somehow looked dimmer. His 4 arms hung limply at his sides. His bronze chitinous armor seemed less impressive now, almost dull in the harsh white lighting. "I am warrior caste," he said quietly. "I have diplomatic immunity." "Not for criminal assault," Captain Reed's voice came through the station intercom. "Crithian Human Treaties, Section 47, Subsection 23. Diplomatic immunity is void in cases of unprovoked physical assault against station merchants or personnel. You waived immunity the moment you touched that Glevian. The two human security officers moved in with restraints, massive magnetic cuffs designed for species with multiple arms. They secured Vex Thor's 4 arms behind his back, the cuffs clicking into place with finality. His tail was also bound with a thick cord, wrapped tight to prevent it from being used as a weapon. His 2 crimson eyes stared at the floor. "This is humiliating," Vex Thor said, his 2 eyes finally lifting to meet Raven's gaze. "I am a warrior. I have conquered 12 worlds. I have led assault forces against fortified positions. I have never been defeated in personal combat." "There's a first time for everything," Raven said. Drax had moved closer now, his massive 7-foot, reptilian frame still showing signs of shock. His 2 amber eyes were fixed on Vex Thor's bound form. "Did you see her face?" His deep voice rumbled. "She didn't even blink. He was twice her size. 4 arms, chitinous armor, warrior caste, and she just, bam!" He slammed his thick fists together for emphasis, dark green scales rippling. "1 hit. He went down like he'd been shot." Ambassador Joran had fully uncoiled now, her purple-blue scaled body stretching across the floor, bioluminescent spots still pulsing gold. Her 4 delicate arms were gesturing in what looked like Velthari sign language, probably transmitting this story to her entire diplomatic corps. Her 2 golden serpentine eyes were bright with excitement. Her hood frills were at half extension. "The Crithian embassy will hear of this," Vex Thor said, as the security officers began walking him toward the detention-level corridor, his 2 crimson eyes fixed straight ahead. "They will protest. They will demand my release." "Cool," Raven said, following behind. "I'll get the diplomatic forms ready." The detention-level corridor was a sharp contrast to the hub. Narrow industrial hallways with dim emergency red lighting, exposed pipes and conduits running along the ceiling, reinforced doors with small windows every 20 feet. The security officers led Vex Thor to a cell designed for large species, his bronze chitinous frame barely fitting through the doorway. As they removed his restraints and sealed the transparent force field across the entrance, Vex Thor turned to face Raven. His 2 crimson eyes met hers, mandibles clicking slowly. "You are not a normal human," he said. "Sure I am." "No." He gestured with 2 of his 4 arms at his throat, still moving stiffly. His 2 crimson eyes studied her carefully. "Normal humans panic. They freeze. They beg. You studied. You prepared. You waited for the optimal moment. You struck with precision." His tail swept once across the cell floor. "You fought like a warrior." "I'm a security officer," Raven said. "It's literally my job." Most security officers would have called for backup, used weapons, maintained distance. Vex Thor's mandibles clicked in what might have been grudging respect, his 2 crimson eyes showing something close to admiration. "You let me threaten you. You let me approach. You allowed me to create the conditions of my own defeat. You did make it really easy. I underestimated your species." Vex Thor sat down heavily on the cell's reinforced bench, his 4 arms resting on his knees. His bronze armor looked duller in the red emergency lighting. His 2 crimson eyes dimmed further. "That was arrogant." "Yeah," Raven said. "It was." She left him there and headed back through the corridor, past the exposed pipes and reinforced doors, back toward the hub. Her comm badge chirped. "Officer Raven, report to my office," Captain Reed said. "We need to discuss the incident." "On my way, Captain." The captain's office was off the main hub, accessible through a short hallway. Reed was standing at his desk when she entered. A lean man in his 50s, with gray hair and sharp eyes. He gestured to a chair, but remained standing himself. Explain to me, he said slowly, how a 5'6" human security officer dropped a 9-foot warrior caste Crithian with one punch. Xenocombat training, Raven said, required course you implemented last year. Reed's expression flickered. That course was meant to teach defensive techniques, de-escalation, how to recognize threat patterns. It also covered vulnerable points on 47 species. For identification purposes, not for, Reed gestured helplessly. One-punch knockdowns. He invited me to strike him, Captain, specifically said, and I quote, strike me with everything your pathetic species has. I had multiple witnesses. I complied with his request. Reed sat down slowly. The Crithian embassy is going to lose their minds. Probably. They're going to claim you assaulted a diplomat. He assaulted 3 merchants first. He destroyed station property. He threatened me. He waived diplomatic immunity under Section 47, subsection 23 of the Crithian Human Treaties. Raven pulled out her spare datapad. I have complete documentation, including the security footage, showing him challenging me to strike him. Reed took the datapad, scrolled through the footage, watched Vex Thor's dramatic invitation and the subsequent punch, and set it down carefully. You knocked him out cold. He wasn't unconscious, just unable to breathe properly for 90 seconds. Crithian physiology has a specific vulnerability in the tracheal region that... I don't need the anatomical details. Reed rubbed his face. Do you understand what you've done? Arrested a violent offender? You've just proven to every species on this station that humans can drop a warrior caste Crithian in single combat. Reed leaned forward. Crithians base their entire culture on physical dominance. Their diplomatic standing relies on the assumption that they're undefeatable in personal combat. You just challenged that entire premise. He challenged me, Raven corrected. Semantics. Reed stood, paced to his window overlooking the hub. Below, aliens were still clustered in groups, gesturing animatedly. Drax was standing with a crowd of various species, his massive reptilian arms gesturing dramatically, clearly recounting the incident. His 2 amber eyes were still glowing with excitement. This is going to change things. Good, Raven said. Maybe Crithians will stop assaulting merchants. Reed turned. Or maybe they'll start viewing humans as threats. Maybe they'll escalate. Maybe... He stopped. You're not worried about this at all, are you? Should I be? A normal person would be concerned about interspecies diplomatic incidents. I'm a security officer, Captain. I enforce station law. If that creates diplomatic incidents, that's above my pay grade. Reed stared at her for a long moment, then started laughing. You know what? You're right. That is above your pay grade, which means it's my problem now. He waved toward the door. Get out of here. File your report. And for the love of all that's holy, try not to punch any more diplomats. He's not technically a diplomat. He's a civilian contractor with diplomatic family connections. Raven. Yes, Captain. She left his office and headed back into the hub. The crowd had grown larger. Various species were gathered in clusters, discussing the incident in multiple languages. Ambassador Joran was at the center of one group, her purple-blue scaled body coiled elegantly, 4 delicate arms gesturing as she apparently recounted the story. Her 2 golden serpentine eyes were bright with animation, her bioluminescent spots still pulsing gold. Drax saw Raven and immediately lumbered over, his massive 7-foot reptilian frame somehow moving with excited energy. His 2 amber eyes were practically glowing. His dark green scales had returned to their normal, vibrant color. The ridge of spikes along his spine was fully raised and quivering with enthusiasm. Officer Raven, his deep voice boomed. Everyone wants to know. How did you do it? How did you drop a Crithian? Nobody drops Crithians. They're warrior caste. They have 4 arms, chitinous armor, natural weapons, enhanced strength. He gestured with his thick, muscular arms. I punched him in the throat, Raven said. But how did you know to punch the throat? Why not the chest? Why not the face? Why specifically there? Drax's 2 amber eyes were locked on her, his scaled face showing intense curiosity. Teach me. I want to learn. I'm tired of being intimidated by Crithians despite my size. Every Varanthi wants to learn. Xeno-combat training, Raven said. Station offers courses every quarter. Sign up for the next session. Drax's 2 amber eyes somehow got wider. There's a course? A human course on fighting aliens? Yep, covers 47 species. Vulnerable points, defensive techniques, de-escalation strategies. I'm enrolling immediately. Drax's whole body seemed to vibrate with excitement, scales rippling, spikes rattling. My entire clan will enroll. We'll never be intimidated again. We'll be warriors, real warriors. He turned and headed toward a group of other large aliens, his deep voice carrying across the hub as he spread the news. Ambassador Joran slithered over, her purple-blue scales rippling in the harsh white light. Her 4 delicate arms were held in a Velthari gesture of respect. 2 crossed over her chest, 2 extended forward, with palms up. Her 2 golden serpentine eyes met Raven's with warm approval. Officer Raven, that was extraordinary. Just doing my job, Ambassador. No. Joran's hood frills extended slightly, her 2 golden eyes bright. That was more than enforcement. That was a statement. You proved that physical dominance is not absolute. That knowledge and precision can defeat raw strength. That humans, despite appearing fragile, are not to be dismissed. Her bioluminescent spots pulsed once, bright gold. The Velthari Diplomatic Corps thanks you. For punching someone? For demonstrating that the strong can be challenged. The Velthari have endured 3 cycles of Crithian intimidation at trade negotiations. They use their physical presence to pressure agreements. After today, Joran's scales shimmered with satisfaction, her 2 golden eyes gleaming. Perhaps they will be less confident in such tactics. Raven's comm badge chirped again. Thane's clicking voice came through. Officer Raven, prisoner Vexthor requests to speak with you. Is this official? He claims it is personal, non-hostile. He is still secured in his cell. Raven considered. I'll be there in 5 minutes. She made her way back through the hub, down the corridor with its red emergency lighting and exposed pipes, to the detention level. Vexthor was sitting on his cell's bench, his 4 arms resting on his knees, his massive bronze-armored frame hunched slightly. His 2 crimson eyes tracked her approach, dimmer than before. The force field between them hummed quietly. You wanted to talk? Raven asked. Vexthor's mandibles clicked slowly. I have been thinking about our encounter, about my behavior. His tail swept across the floor once, his 2 crimson eyes fixed on her. I was arrogant, dismissive. I assumed human weakness based on appearance and reputation. I failed to consider that appearance can be deceptive. Yeah. In Crithian culture, we value strength above all else, physical power, combat prowess, dominance. His 4 arms gestured at himself, his 2 crimson eyes showing something close to shame. I am warrior caste. I have trained since birth. I have never been defeated by a smaller opponent, never been struck down so decisively. He paused. It was educational. Glad I could help with your education. You are mocking me. Little bit. Vexthor's mandibles spread in what might have been a laugh, his 2 crimson eyes brightening slightly. You have earned that right. In Crithian tradition, the victor may mock the defeated. It is their privilege. He stood, his bronze chitinous armor scraping against the cell walls. His two eyes met hers directly. "I wish to apologize. To you, and to the merchants I assaulted." Raven raised an eyebrow. "That's unexpected. I have been a fool, a bully. I used my strength to intimidate those weaker than myself because I could, because there were no consequences, because I believed myself superior." His two crimson eyes dimmed again. "You taught me that strength has limits, that knowledge defeats ignorance, that underestimating an opponent is the fastest path to defeat. Cool speech. You're still going to trial." "I know." Vexthor sat back down, his two eyes studying her carefully. "I will accept my punishment. And I will request to enroll in your Xeno combat training course. If humans can learn to defeat Crithians, I must learn to defend against humans." His mandibles clicked, with what sounded like rueful humor. "Perhaps I will learn humility as well." "Stranger things have happened," Raven said. She turned to leave, but Vexthor's voice stopped her. "Officer Raven, one final question." "Yeah? Did you hold back?" Raven looked at him over her shoulder. "When I punched you?" "Yes. Did you use your full strength? Or did you restrain yourself?" She considered the question for a moment. "I used exactly enough force to achieve the desired outcome." "Which was?" "Putting you on the floor without killing you." Vexthor's two crimson eyes widened significantly. All four of his arms tensed. "You could have killed me?" "Probably not with one punch, but a few more strikes to that same spot? Or a strike to one of your other vulnerable points?" "Yeah, maybe." Raven shrugged. "Xeno combat training covers 47 species, remember? Including lethal techniques. I chose the non-lethal option because I'm a security officer, not an executioner." She left him sitting in his cell, mandibles hanging open, all four arms frozen in shock, his two crimson eyes wider than she'd ever seen them. Back in the hub, the crowd had somehow grown even larger. News of the incident had spread throughout the station. Now aliens from species Raven didn't even recognize were gathered in clusters, watching replays of the security footage on their personal devices, gesturing animatedly. A group of humans had gathered near one of the floating holographic displays. As Raven passed, one of them, a young technician named Alex, called out, "Officer Raven, is it true you dropped a Crithian with one punch?" "Yeah." The humans burst into cheers. Alex was grinning. "Every human on this station has been waiting years for someone to shut those Crithian bullies up. You're a legend now. You know that, right?" "I'm a security officer doing my job." "You're more than that." Alex gestured at the crowd. "Look around. Half these species have been intimidated by Crithians at some point. You just proved they're not invincible. You changed the entire power dynamic of this station." Raven looked at the gathered aliens. Drax and other large species were demonstrating combat stances. Ambassador Joran was still surrounded by diplomats from various species. Even some of the smaller aliens were watching the footage with what looked like newfound confidence. "I just punched a guy who asked me to punch him," Raven said. "You did more than that," Alex said. "You proved that humans belong here, that we're not just the fragile newcomers everyone can push around. You punched through 100 years of interspecies prejudice." "That's dramatic." "That's accurate." Alex pulled up his datapad, showing enrollment numbers. "Xeno combat training course just filled up for the next 6 sessions. Waitlist is over 200. Half of them are aliens wanting to learn how you did it." Raven's comm badge chirped. Captain Reed's voice. "Officer Raven, Crethian Embassy just sent a formal complaint. Also a formal apology. Also a request for information about our Xeno combat training program. I don't even know how to process this." "Want me to handle the training inquiry, Captain?" "Please. And Raven, good work today. Don't tell anyone I said that." The comm clicked off. Raven looked around the hub one more time, at the excited aliens, the replaying footage, the animated discussions about vulnerable points and combat techniques, and the fact that a human security officer had dropped a warrior-caste Crithian in single combat. Drax lumbered over again, his massive reptilian form casting a shadow. His two amber eyes were bright with determination, his dark green scales gleaming. "Officer Raven, I enrolled in next month's course. I'm going to learn everything, every vulnerable point, every technique." He paused, the spikes along his spine flattening slightly. "Wait, does the course cover how to fight humans too?" "Yep, 47 species. We're number 23 on the list." Drax's two amber eyes narrowed in thought, his thick arms crossing over his chest. "So, if I learn to fight humans, and I learn how you fight aliens, then I'll know how to fight everyone?" "That's the idea. This is the best day of my life." His whole body seemed to vibrate with excitement, scales rippling, spikes rising again. "I'm going to be unstoppable. Well, hopefully unstoppable, which is better than being constantly intimidated." He lumbered off again, leaving Raven standing in the center of the hub, surrounded by the chaos she'd somehow created by doing exactly what Vexthor had asked her to do. Her spare datapad chirped with an incoming message from the Station Judiciary Council. "Preliminary hearing scheduled for Vexthor. Charges confirmed. Diplomatic immunity waived per Section 47, subsection 23. Trial date pending." Another message. "Glevian Merchant Cooperative, sending formal thanks for swift justice. Tentacles fully regenerated. Trauma counseling proceeding well." Another. "Crithian Embassy requesting meeting to discuss cultural education initiatives and mutual combat training protocols." Raven closed the datapad and headed for the exit. She had a report to file, training enrollment to process, and apparently an interspecies diplomatic incident to somehow navigate. Just another day on the station. Behind her, Drax's deep voice echoed across the hub. "And then she just punched him. One hit. He went down like a meteor strike. I saw it with both my eyes." The crowd roared with laughter. Yeah, Raven thought. Just another day.